be a David and Goliath affair. Sydney engineer Peter Hills fitted neatly into the David category. With a team of dedicated volunteers behind him, Hills threw his Mondeo around the mountain in 2:22.94. He remained in 10th spot. The Honda record of Lee Brooks proved a revelation. His best time during qualifying was a 2:19.4. Lee smashed almost half a second off that and jumped the place on the grid. He'll start 8th. Cameron McLean began his hot lap in the BMW, which won the great race last year, only to be later disqualified. McLean's 2:19.7 pushed he and Tony Scott back to 9th, but a new engine was fitted overnight. Paul Morris would have watched the Beamer with interest. He drove it last year, but after a stint in the Indy Lights Series stateside, he was back behind the wheel of a works Audi. He too eclipsed his best time and will start 6th. Derek Warwick was the first to crack the 2:18 barrier, producing a superb lap in the factory Vector. The ex-Formula One ace regards Mount Panorama as one of the great racetracks in the world, and after lapping in 2:17.31, he had no reason to change that opinion. Australia's reigning Super Touring champ Brad Jones was next out in the familiar Audi. After a frustrating week running into traffic jams, finally he had a clear track. But at 2:18.37 actually pushed him back 2 spots. Only 4 cars left. Tim Harvey took the first of the super quick Volvo S40s on his one-lap dash. The affable Briton, another international driver in love with the track, was the first into the 2:16. Harvey's 2:16.47 was better, but only just when Richards Jr. in the red-hot Nissan Primera hit the track. Stephen Richards into first place, 2 cars left. One of them piloted by Swedish superstar Rickard Rydell. The current British touring car champion was quickest in every qualifying session bar one. He wasn't about to be upstaged again.
So is this going to be the fastest lap we've had? When he did the warm-up, it was 2 minutes 15.85. The fastest lap we've had for the top 10 so far. Steve Richards, 2 minutes 16.4. This is going to be it. This is definitely going to be it. What a lap! 1.5 seconds faster. 2 minutes 14.9. Surely that is not going to be beaten.
His 2:14.93 was one of the great single-lap dashes ever seen at the mountain. That left 1 car, but Greg Murphy in the Vectra couldn't match the Volvo's awesome speed. His 2:16.78 was never going to be good enough. So it'll be Volvo, Nissan, Volvo, Vectra on the first 2 rows. But significantly, the front row for the first time will accommodate a father and his son. 5 times winner Jim Richards will partner Rydell. His son Stephen will steer the Primera. Gentleman Jim says they have a normal father-son relationship, but on the racetrack, Stephen is just another rival. We'll see as the great race unfolds this afternoon.
22 rows of cars down there on the starting grid prior to their 161 grueling laps in perfect weather of this magnificent Mount Panorama circuit. And you look down now at Murray's Corner, right at the bottom centre of your screen, that 90-degree left-hander. And car 12 there is Cameron McLean's BMW, a possible winner in this race. He's on the 5th row of the grid. And they said there, that netting there, incidentally, is to stop their arms flying out if the window is open and the car goes off the track and turns over, which hopefully that one certainly will not do. It's the Volvo of Jim Richards. And there, number 4, is the Volvo of Tim Harvey with his Swedish co-driver Jan Nilsson. One of the Vectras up there, and it is very close to starting time for the 1998 Bathurst 1000.
Another history-making moment. Father and son, Jim Richards, Stephen Richards, Volvo, Nissan, front row of the grid. Who will win the race to the first corner? That remains to be seen. Volvo, Nissan, Volvo, then 2 Vectras, 2 Audis, a Honda, a BMW and a Ford Mondeo. They are the top 10. The flag is dropped and away they go, and Jim Richards is first down the blocks. He's got the run in the inside of the hill corner. Stephen Richards powering up on the outside but won't be able to get round him. He's trying, but he will not get there.
Up towards Volvo Bend, the right-hander, and it's Steve Richards on the inside. He's got the advantage on the right-hand bend, and he takes the lead from his father, Jim Richards, with Russell Ingle in the Vectra in third position, swarming all over the boot end of the Volvo, challenging at the start of the race. So it's Nissan leading, Volvo second, Vectra in third position, climbing up towards the highest point of the course. And Steve Richards, of course, knows this track absolutely magnificently. He's raced here many times before, and his car's beautifully set up for it. And it's still the Volvo behind him, then the Vectra, and going through in fourth position. That looks like, could it be surely the Honda of Rob Gravett? He couldn't have come up so quickly. It's incredible.
He's made a terrific start, and he's got the Audi trying to find a way past him, but Gravett has made a terrific start. He's come up to fourth. They expected to do better in the top 10, and he's really putting the points to prove now and making sure that the Honda is getting right up ahead there of the Audis and onto the tail of the first three.
And he's holding the two Audis up, but it's an incredible start by Rob Gravett. He was 8th on the grid on the 4th row, and already he is in 4th position. As the rest of them go streaming through, I haven't seen any defectors on the way. They all seem to have got away clearly, including Anderton from the pit lane. He started from the pit lane when everybody else had gone through.
The start by Rob Gravett highlights the fact that you pointed up yesterday, Murray, that Lee Brooks drove the qualifying, which did surprise us.
Yes, indeed, and it's quite deliberate. They put Brooks in for the qualifying so that Gravett could start. He's got more experience. He's raced at Bathurst several times before in all sorts of motor cars. There is Gravett. There the Audi behind him. The Audi with the yellow mirrors, and Paul Morris is right behind him. Oh no, it's not, it's the Volvo. It's the second Volvo of Tim Harvey, number 4, Tim Harvey, swarming all over the boot end of the Audi and trying to go through. One lap completed, only 160 laps still to go. It's a long, long way. But it's amazing how quickly even a long race like this goes when you're sitting and watching it. We're into lap 8 already. It seems only a few moments since it began. And there you can see that you see exactly what I was talking about there. The car moves over. That was actually a very considerate bit of driving by Mike Fitzgerald in the Peugeot 405, car 23. He moved over and let Tim Harvey through. And you can see beautifully from McConville's car the racing line that Tim Harvey's taking.
Yes, and you can see the beautiful line that Cameron McConville's taking. He's a very accomplished young driver. He's doing extremely well. His career is about to explode. He's capable of driving just about anything he wants or anything that he's offered. And here we are in the driver's seat. He's in the left-hand drive Audi. A nice little advantage. Of course, the Swedish team have also elected to run their left-hand drive cars. Very smart move at Bathurst. Anti-clockwise circuit. Drivers in the inside of all the tight corners like we've just gone through. Tire power there at Forest Elbow. Doesn't make much difference on Conrod, naturally. But here we have McConville shadowing the Volvo S40 of Tim Harvey.
Harvey goes through. Look at him, he's cutting through these tail-enders like a hot knife through butter, followed by McConville. It's still Steve Richards up front, Father Jim behind him, so it is still Nissan leading. Volvo second, the Vectra of Russell in position, Tim Harvey's Volvo that you're looking at is in fourth, Cameron McConville fifth. They're both going past the tail-ender now, and McConville closes up on the boot lid and into the pits. Car 15 there is Mark Anderton's Honda Accord, which started from the pit lane.
Let's have a look at this passing manoeuvre from the race cam in Cameron McConville's Audi as he got past Tim Harvey.
Here we go up through AMP turn. Here's what's caused the trouble. Tim Harvey's elected to go left, can't make up his mind how to get by car 77, and that's all the invitation Cameron McConville needed.
Now look at John Cleland, he hasn't given up. John Cleland, 7th position now. Paul Radisich in front of him. There is Tim Harvey, number 4 in the Volvo, which is still, well, he's in 5th position behind McConville. And now things are starting to close up. The traffic is really making things. There's Paul Morris, the man who won last year, only to lose the race on a technicality. It was taken away from him. And then the Brabham brothers went up there to win the great race of last year. The top driver from overseas at the present moment is Tim Harvey. There he is in car number 4, the Volvo, and he is determined to get past Cameron McConville's Audi with the yellow mirrors, which is in front of him. You will recall we saw a marvellous shot from McConville's car as Tim Harvey was balked. McConville shot past and moved up into 4th place. So let's just establish where everybody is. Steve Richards is still leading on lap 16, which is the 1/10 race distance, followed by Jim Richards. Russell Eagle is still 3rd. Cameron McConville in the yellow mirrored Audi, there it is in 4th place, ahead of Paul Radisich now, the 2nd Audi. So the Audis are starting to make a move.
And here's the first official stop for the Holden team. And Greg Murphy going in.
David Taps there.
Yes, we'll go the first of what should be 3 or 4 stops for the Vectra team. Very slick change too, and it's something they've worked on very hard over the last few months in the lead up to Bathurst. As people know, it was a rather shabby part of their teamwork last year, well, below expectations anyway. That was very slick for the front-wheel drive Vectra.
The aftermath of what could have been disastrous in the pits. The number 8 Vectra came in. Derek Warwick in the car now. John Cleland getting out. They had a fuel fire. It was controlled very quickly. I don't know whether John Cleland might have been caught up in it, but I noticed he was rushed, hustled out of the pits very quickly by the crew.
Now, number 2 in there is Paul Radisich, the Audi driver, and it's Paul Morris in the flowered helmet, painted flowers, who is taken over.
Should give that one to Rickard Rydell, shouldn't he?
Their first stop. They've made it to lap 34, so they're in the window for a 4-stage stop. There's no way that they're going to get any further. Seems to be a fairly organized stop. The car's down, started, and in gear and away.
To the pits comes race leader Steve Richards. Now we'll be able to watch this and see how it compared with the Vectra stop and the Audi stop. And Pat Welsh is there.
Murray, I'm dashing down there now, but it will be a regulation stop. The interesting thing here with this is there's such a huge height difference between Steve Richards and Matt Neal that they actually change steering wheels. They actually change steering wheels in this pit stop once the drivers change. But it seems to be, oh, the bonnet is up. I'm getting up there now. We'll check what is happening.
Move it, Paddy.
Well, I'll tell you, let me tell you something about Matt Neal, because there is going to be the most gigantic pressure on Matt Neal now, driving car 34. Matt is the son of the man who runs 100-plus wheels and sponsors him, and he is a driver who's never had the recognition he deserves. He's won the British Touring Car Independence Championship twice, but he's missed out on the Works Drive. He's been driving for a long time, and somehow people just never think of him.
Now, I'll tell you what, we might have been a little bit cruel to him earlier on as well. We were saying about the pace of the 2 drivers within the car, because Matt, throughout qualifying, was in fact only about 4 or 5 tenths a lap slower than his teammate Steve Richards. They rejoined in 4th spot.
Going to the pits.
Jim Richards in from the lead. He took the lead, of course, when his son came in. Now, seatbelts undone. And the Volvo, what was that time for the previous one?
37 seconds.
37 seconds. They'll be doing it. And Pat Welsh will be there.
Here he is, nice clean stop in his box, in his spot. And all tires off and on. Single wheel nut, as we've talked before. There's no great problem about throwing the wheel on, but they have to be careful when they put the wheel nut on before they hit it with the air guns. And the first of the Audis in. The second, the lead car, sorry, Cameron McConville coming in to change over to Brad Jones.
So Steve Richards led, came in, Jim Richards came in, and Pat is down there.
Richards in, and I know Rickard has been pacing around nervously. He's had the earplugs in and the helmet ready to go for some time, and a big round of applause from the Volvo boys. They're very, very happy with that stop. As out goes Rickard Rydell.
John, car was a little bit scary towards the end.
It was a bit scary from halfway through, really. The tyre that Derek chose to do the top 10 runoff obviously was the tyre we had to start the race on, which was a little softer than we would have liked. And going through BP Cutting and down through Forest Elbow, I was having about a half-ton lock more than I really ought to have done, and it was a bit frightening over the top of the mountain.
Now, you're also helping the pit crew out.
Yeah, we appeared to have a minor fire on that pit stop, which I think captured everyone's attention. what happened, I'm really not very sure, but Derek left complete with the pipe for the fuel still in, with the vent bottle sticking out the other side. Fortunately, the team manager shouted to him to stop. I ran up, pulled the vent bottle out, and unfortunately, I think one of our guys caught fire. I'm not really sure how he is. I don't think it was too serious, but...
No, I just went and saw him in the car, and the first aid boys are there, and he is looking okay. But a lot of incidents starting to occur. But the Vauxhall boys back on track, looking good. But gee, you've got to take your hat off to the boys in the Nissan and the Jimmy Richards, Ricard Rydell Volvo. Back to you guys.
Well, meantime, back in the race, look at this, because here is the Volvo with the Nissan right up behind it. So, Ricard Rydell in the lead now, and Matthew Neal challenging him. The British Touring Car Champion of 1998 lead, and Matthew Neal is having a go at him. I don't know whether this is wise at this stage of the race. What does the chap of your experience think?
Not on those opening laps for him, Murray. He's having a bit of an aggressive go here. Rydell is settling himself down. He won't like the fact that he sees a Nissan flashing in his rearview mirror, but let's just see how these two unfold. I wouldn't be as aggressive at this particular point, but obviously Neal doesn't want to let him get away.
I know Rydell's making that Volvo pretty wide actually at the moment, and it was interesting. I know the team had said that one of the reasons that they wanted Richards to start the car was because Neal had actually raced against Rydell before and knew a lot more about the way that he drove, and therefore if they were going to be on the circuit and close together, that was a better way to keep it.
They make their right-hander onto pit straight. He's had a go at him, and Ricard is and slipped through the corner. Wow, look how close they are. They're accelerating up now, pit straight. They've just passed us in the box.
Great shot from the Whitman's lightship.
And again, through a hell corner, it is the Primera that takes the lead away from Ricard Rydell. We'll see now the professionalism that needs to come through from the Swedish driver, not to get too carried away with it. Just let this car in front of him go a little bit and settle down to running a lap time that we know he's capable of doing, Richard.
41 laps completed, still 120 laps to go. This really isn't the way to
not
driving it perhaps at
not
this
the
point.
Stage of the race where you would really want to have things come unglued, because when you're driving so closely like this against the odds, there is a chance that you can come whipping around one of these corners that are blind, and there'll be a semi-parked car waiting for you in the form of a slower vehicle. And here's the lights flashing on the Primera, coming down into the Forest.
And look at this. That's Peter Hills in the yellow and blue Ford Mondeo. That was well up earlier on, and it is currently driven by Tony Scott in 8th position. So the leaders are coming up to lap the 8th position car, and past goes Matthew Neal as he goes down into Caltech's chase. The Mondeo is going to get there before. Oh, and he moves over and lets everybody through. That's a good bit of driving there. Well done. So Rydell goes through, Murphy goes through, first, second and third, nose to tail. Nissan, Volvo and Vectra on lap 42. Now, up front, we've still got Matthew Neal and Ricard Rydell in respectively, as the Malcolm is getting out of the car. Decided his race is run, having to get out across the passenger side, of course.
May have stalled.
Word with the marshal. Right. Get up here, mate, as quickly as you possibly can. Very sensible that, to get the driver off the track. There is a tendency when you've got out of the car, I've noticed, to walk around it and look at it and see what's wrong with it.
Get away
totally
from it.
Ignoring the fact that there's cars coming past you very quickly. They seem to think they lead a charmed life.
Yes, I didn't think Tim Schenken would wait too long to get rid of that car. There's only just enough room to get the cars to get through that corner on the tarmac, and if anyone else was to make a mistake, they would T-bone that parked car on the right-hand side of the circuit. So a wise move from the Clark, of course, to hold the field down. Now, this will be something, Murray, will be quite interesting to see what Neal and Rydell do while they have a breather in this situation.
Let's check the top 10. Neal and Richards leading. Rydell and Richards in second. Nissan and Volvo. Then the first of the Vectras, Murphy and Ingle. First of the Audis, Jones and McConville. Warwick and Cleland in the second of the Vectras. sixth position, Morris and Radicic in the second Audi, then Nilsson and Harvey the second Volvo, McLean and Scott the first of the BMWs, then the Ford Mondeo of Hills and Beninka, and a second BMW being driven by the Searle brothers occupies 10th position.
There goes the safety car. There goes Greg Murphy now. This is his chance to break, because look at the number of cars that are behind him before Warwick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's Derek Warwick in the red and white Vectra as Murphy goes across the line, and Warwick is the car to watch now when you see him, because he's going to have to carve his way through traffic.
And look who's pushing Warwick on the inside of him there. Warwick's already been demoted from second to third, and even third to fourth.
And again, yeah, Derek Warwick losing places as the race rejoins. He won't like that at all. He's a very determined chap, is Derek Warwick. And if I can add to that profile that we've just seen, one of the nicest men I've known in motor racing. And Matthew Neal is the man that went past Derek Warwick in the Vectra. Matthew Neal on another charge. We've seen how well he could go in that battle he had with Rickard Rydell, which he came out on top of. And Derek Warwick now then behind the Nissan. Meantime, Greg Murphy is pulling away.
We're on board with Derek Warwick, and he's got Cameron McLean in front of him, holding him up a bit, I must say.
There's been a driver change in the meantime. Tony Scott in the yellow BMW at the present moment. Number 12, he's replaced Cameron McLean. He's a pretty gifted driver in his own right.
Yes, but his lap times are about a second and a half, 2 seconds a lap off McLean.
And he's one of the people that suffered because of the pace car incident. If only he would have been just a couple of 3 cars further ahead on the track, when the pace car picked up the leader, he'd have caught virtually a whole lap back up. Unfortunately, he was just behind the leader at that point, which was Greg Murphy, and so he's a whole lap down now, and he didn't get the opportunity to catch that lap back up.
That was a pity.
You see how difficult it was to put no effort to pass on the mountain because it's so difficult. But now we can expect the Vectra to close up on the BMW as they come down to Caltex Chase and to dodge out behind its boot lead and go through and take the place. And sure enough, he does it. Lovely picture, fabulous picture. Look forward, look sideways, look back. Goodbye, BMW, and wham, bang! Here comes the Audi behind it.
That's Bradley.
Brad Jones taking advantage of that situation there. He let Warwick pave the way for him, and he was going to make use of the gap.
Yes, this is a scheduled pit stop. They didn't take a stop during the safety car when it was out there. And John Cleland, one of the most relaxed motor races I've ever seen, joking around with his pit crew before he went out. Now on the front right is a very familiar name in Australian motor racing. That's Jamie Brock, working on the pit crew for the Vectra. Warwick out, Cleland in. Remember the dramas we had at their last pit change when a fire erupted here. Let's hope we don't see any similar problems. Waiting for the fuel to go in, the 80-litre tank.
They're looking. The fellow on the left is looking across.
Here we go. Yes, this time, Alan, no problems. They took it very, very cautiously with the fuel. And out goes John Cleland.
And Ingle is now down to 4th position.
Car 38, it's off at the cutting in almost the same place as the Honda of Rob Gravitt and Lee Brooks.
He's letting it run back under its own gravity.
So the safety car is going out. Car 10 is also parked off the track up there somewhere, the Peugeot 406 of Tony Newman and Mark Williamson. And car 20 has been told to come back into the pits for a stop-go penalty. That's the Odyssey entry to BMW 320 of Dennis Chapman and Brian Bradshaw. And here's a disaster for the number 8 Vectra of Derek Warwick and John Cleland. This, well, they've managed to get it off now, but this was jammed solid, this wheel nut. Have they got it?
I think what's happened is that they've got the clip which helps retain the nut broken probably inside the hub area there.
Might be a bit more than that, Murray.
Yeah.
The way they were trying, the wheel gun wasn't taking the nut off. I think the wheel nut got seized onto the wheel.
Strip the thread.
Yep.
Or if they strip the thread, that's it, because they won't be able to retain the wheel on the hub with the new nut.
Well, there's frantic activity there, and it has been now for about 2 minutes.
They're throwing it away.
They're getting rid of the whole upright from the look of things.
David Tapp.
It's the sort of thing about motor racing that absolutely breaks your heart, doesn't it? They've had some challenges to contend with today, this team. No sooner had Derek Warwick strapped himself into the car as a result of changing over with the Clennon. They realised that they had this problem on the left front of the car. Warwick immediately shut down the Vectra and is just sitting patiently in the race car at the moment, having a chat with John Cleland. And you know what John Cleland would be doing, don't you? Humouring Derek Warwick, who I reckon would be fuming.
Well, the Bathurst 1000 is living up to the excitement that it always offers. In goes the safety car, off goes the race, and the Volvo leads from the Nissan.
With
there
Warwick
they go.
and Cleland 2 laps down.
What's happened is the nuts on the disc have come undone, and the disc is floating back and forward on the hub. Subsequently, no brakes, but the guys, at least this time, they're not on fire.
Great Murphy's
Murphy's gone.
Can't see which one. It's Harvey.
It's Harvey, Tom Harvey, Tim Harvey.
Tim
There's
Harvey
obviously
and
coming-
Russell Ingall.
Yeah, they've obviously collided while one was trying to pass the other. That's the only conclusion I can come to.
They're in the S's, and this is serious. and Audie's gone.
Yeah, there's oil all over the road up there apparently, and that's from that Sentra that went into the wall and then came to a halt off the top of the skyline.
Yep, they've all hit it. Somebody else, if he comes over
And
the skyline too quickly, now pace car out quickly.
Tim Harvey getting out of the car, so that's good. But of course, this transforms the race.
Let's see this again on
Here it is.
replay.
Now let's see what happened.
Oh, what a ride. Ingall doing
Hits
everything
the all.
he can. And Harvey
there's
doing
Harvey,
everything.
and-
Oh!
They couldn't recover, and funnily enough, they didn't hit each other. They hit separate things, but the result was exactly the same.
Yes.
And it's transformed the race now because it means that Matthew Neal will be leading very strongly in the Nissan, and Brad Jones should move up into second place. Derek Warwick and John Cleland will be straining every sinew now that the car is running whole again to fight their way up through the field and at least get a top 6 finish. And the race restarts. Well, the race was on all the time, to be realistic about it. But what I mean is that the safety car goes in so they can put the pedal to the metal and really go for it again. Now, the crucial time is going to be when they climb up the mountain and then down and get to that point where the two cars went off, where the Vectra went off and the Volvo went off, because although they've hosed the circuit down magnificently, it's probably still a bit slippery there. That glycol is very slippery stuff.
It is, but we've got to congratulate the organisers, Alan Moffat, for a great job they've done here.
Yes, the ARDC safety crew, Murray, they were out there and they had their hose with a good pump on the back of their truck, and I've never seen a hose being used, a fire hose, not a garden hose, trying to wash the track down. That was excellent work by the ARDC.
And just look at the way now Steve Richards is flying, cutting through the traffic, trying to put as much of it as possible between him and his father, Jim Richards, in the Volvo behind him in second place. The Nissan looking very strong. It's completely unmarked. Thus far, it hasn't had any problems that I'm aware of in the race. It's maintaining an extremely good pace.
Well, the one thing Stephen hasn't got, Murray, and that's 5 victories under his belt that his dad's got. And I'm just thinking at this point, 90 laps into the race, Jim Richards will have a real feel for how much effort is needed to get up to 161 laps and that checkered flag.
In replay, we see Jim Richards picking up the lead.
Yes, the pride of all these car manufacturers is in the hands of these two drivers, along with Cameron McConville in the Audi that is coming up in 3rd spot. And boy, the pressure is on for them to do a good job. Probably a harder job for the Nissan team. They've only had one car and they've still got it up there. We've lost one Volvo and we've lost one Audi. So here it is at the moment, the leader, Jim Richards, followed by son Stephen, and then Cameron McConville in the lead Audi with Brad Jones.
Back live now, and you can see Jim Richards stretching that lead down on Conrod Straight. Geez, opened it up quite quickly.
Now, I'll tell you something else we all need to be watching. Derek Warwick, he's in 6th position, so he's in the top 6, in that vital top 6. And what's more, he is lapping some 12 seconds a lap faster than Peter Hills in the Mondeo, who's in 5th place. Derek Warwick has already unlapped himself on the Mondeo and is on the same lap. So it's going to be Derek Warwick for 5th position very shortly, I think. then he'll be going for Tony Scott, but there's 3 laps between him and the BMW. But we've still got such a long way to go. We're on lap 96, 161 laps. We've seen 161 laps in the race. We've seen what can happen at Bathurst already, and there could well be more of it in store for us. Here is the race leader. We're looking through underneath that anti-glare strip that they have at the top of the windscreen for pretty obvious reasons. It's still a bright, bright blue sky, blazing sunshine here at Mount Panorama. The bad weather that was forecast at one time hasn't happened, and certainly doesn't look as though it's going to happen. It's going to be another great race in superb weather all the way. Through the Caltex chase, down to complete the lap. Now, it'll be interesting to see the gap this time. I remind you that at the end of the previous lap, and this is lap 101 with 60.60 to go, the gap was 3.4 seconds. There is Stephen Richards, and it looks a lot closer to me now. Jim Richards has gone across the line, and the gap is down to, well, it's reduced. I'm just waiting for the gap to come up on the computer now. It's about just over 3 seconds. So Stephen is closing the gap. Now we're riding with the car in 4th position. It's Tony Scott at the wheel of the BMW. This is the car that won the race last year. There's 3 cars stopping him from being likely to do so at the present moment. Cameron McConville, who's ahead of him in the Audi in 3rd place, Steve Richards and Jim Richards. Look at the telemetry. Watch the revs on this engine as they build going down Conrod Straight. And look at that speed graphic. 250 k's and over in top gear. Down goes the speed as he goes down through the gears into 3rd gear for Caltex Chase. It'll go up again as he accelerates away into the straight, down to Murray's Corner. 4th gear, on go the brakes, swing left, down goes the speed, 90-50.
Yes, he's going to hit the pit lane here, Murray. He's ready for the changeover back to Cameron McLean. He's got to keep it at 60 through the pit lane, so just a little creep here. It looks like we could walk faster. Now the team ready for him, the Greenfield Mowers team, saying stop. He's done that. He'll be a fairly tired boy. He's been in there a long time. But surely change over now to McConville. Sorry, to McLean.
I'll tell
doesn't seem to be doing it. Don't see a driver.
Pat Walsh is down there.
There they go now.
Well, if they don't change now, he'd be overstaying his welcome, as Craig Baird did last year in the BMW.
Yeah, and I'll tell you who this is going to help. It's going to help Peter Hill's car and Derek Warwick's car.
An excellent stop, Murray. I think you'll find they'll be back out there very promptly. And now we've got McLean back at the wheel, the lead driver in his
Trickling
team.
Down the pit lane,
yes,
speed limit.
Very careful here. He can't go over 60. He's doing 55, 57, 58. Well, I don't think he'll get pinged now. He's out on he's on the exit to the pit lane. Here's Mountain Straight looking at him in the square in the eye now.
And in comes the booster.
Yeah, left-hand drive already, and I'm going to say already he's up to 170K. He's in 4th gear. Cabin temperature 28 degrees. He's on 7,500, almost 8,000 RPM. He's going to hold it in 5th before he breaks for this right-hander.
Let's just pause for a minute and have a listen to this car as he punts it across up to the top and across the top of Mount Panorama.
Here we go.
Because Derek Warwick has got ahead of the... He looks sideways at me so he can hear me. Derek Warwick, he can hear me. Can you hear me, Derek? No, he can't. He's just waving coincidentally. Well, he's up into 5th position. He's getting down to it with all the grit and determination that you would expect from this very determined Hampshireman. He's fought his Vauxhall Vectra up into 5th position. Blue flags waving there. But Jim Richards now has got his son Steve just 1.5 seconds behind him. This is the 109th lap in this 161 lap Bathurst 1000. There is still more excitement to come. Of that I have absolutely no doubt.
There's been a change as we go to tape replay.
Yes, this is going to be very interesting here in a second. Watching Stephen coming up here. He's very close now. He's alongside Jim. Jim's got the corner. unless Stephen swings in front of him, and it looks like he's thinking about doing it. A bit cheeky. He might have thought, well, Dad won't hit me. He may not have done that with any other competitor. That was a pretty nifty little move, but Jim's elected to let him go. Some interesting windows opening here. These fellas are both on lap 30 and lap 32 of their fuel strategies. They're going to have to start thinking about stopping. Stephen may be wanting just to get a bit of a gap on the Volvo before he has to stop their last stop.
Expected to come in probably about 4 more laps, 5 at the max.
Well, it was gentleman Jim Richards who once again maintained unsullied his reputation for not hitting people. A lot of people would have refused to yield when Stephen moved over. There was nothing wrong about what Stephen did, and as a result of that, the Nissan is again leading the Bathurst 1000. These two cars started together on the front row of the grid, and that was 120 laps ago. 41 laps to go, including the lap they're on, and look how close it is. I thought last year's Bathurst 1000 was a thriller. This one is every second just as good. Car 30 here in the pits is that of Troy Searle and Luke Searle. They're doing extremely well. Indeed, they are in 7th position. They took that place away just a few laps ago, and the brother's undoing his other brother's shoulder straps there to help him out of the car. First of all, Matthew Neal in the Nissan Primera, right at Steve Richards in the Primera, waiting to hand over to Matthew Neal. Right behind them is the Volvo. They're going to be stopping altogether, and Jim Richards is going to be handing over to Rickard Rydell. So this pit stop could decide the Bathurst 1000. Out of the car gets Steve Richards. Matthew Neal wrinkles his long frame in. He's got to change the seat and the steering wheel. Meantime, behind them, the Volvo crew are working frantically on the car. Rickard Rydell into his car. He's going to have to change the steering wheel as well. There it goes. On goes the steering wheel from Rickard Rydell. The seconds are ticking away. Is he going to be able to get out of the pits in front of the Nissan? Cleaning the windscreen, the Nissan crew in front of him are working. There they are. And the Volvo gets away, and into the lead goes Rickard Rydell, and the Nissan is still there.
Yes, that's going to cost him dearly. They had the bonnet open, they were throwing oil in the Nissan, but strategically, the Volvo put El's got a very, very safe car underfoot, and he can hammer it now to the lead.
And here's the new leader on the track, the #1 Audi, Cameron McConville at the wheel.
So maybe you didn't expect that, because you thought it was going to be either the Nissan or the Volvo. Wrong, because Cameron McConville was hanging on there in the Audi, and he's up front with Rickard Rydell second, and behind him is Matt Neal in the Nissan.
He was now with Stephen Richards.
Yes, take your well-earned drink, and Lenny got a brand new set of tyres, which I know you're hoping the team won't need.
No, we're just being prepared, ready, just in case.
38 laps when you made that change, and you're obviously hoping now that this is the last time you have to get into the car.
Yes, definitely. Our plan now is for Matt to come home to the finish and greet the checkered flag.
It's been nip and tuck out there, daring move to get past that.
Well, I could see he was obviously struggling with his tyres, and I thought I didn't want to really get held up. It would have been nice to have a bit of a gap going into the last stint, so I just pressed on for a bit, and the Michelin tyres are fantastic, and Nissan Primera was there.
Leave it there, Paddy, because the Audi's coming in, the race leader, Cameron McConville, to hand over to Brad Jones.
Yeah, the race leader coming in, and what's more, the Nissan has got some bodywork flapping. David Tapp.
Murray, this will need to be the quickest stop this team has ever done. Bradley Jones now has himself in the car. Obviously, McConville is giving him a hand in getting strapped in. We'll just keep our eyes now on the main straight, and we're going to have a change of lead as car number 40, driven by Radishus Plus, or rather Rickard Rydell, now hits the front. And the Audi team doing their level best to get the car back out onto the racetrack. It's got some fender damage too.
Here it is, the Volvo's just gone round. It's going to be mighty, mighty close. But in case you missed me saying that, the Nissan has got some bodywork flapping. So, there is the Nissan, and you can see on the right-hand side, or you will when it comes towards us, that there is something flapping. I don't think it's anything that matters too much. as Brad Jones connects up the pipe there.
And returns to the track in third place.
And returns to the track in third place then, behind Rickard Rydell in the Volvo and Matt Neal in the Nissan. Out of the race goes the Damien Digby Paula Elstrick car.
Yes, that's the one of the Mondeo team, the Peter Hill's Mondeo team. They've been in and out of strife half a dozen times today, but that looks terminal.
So this is really going to close things up. Matthew Neal at the present moment is 14.5 seconds behind Rickard Rydell, who's been working so hard to build that lead, and he's going to see most of it frittered away now, depending on where Matthew Neal is in terms of cars between the two lead cars, the Volvo and the Nissan. Off goes the safety car, and on goes Rickard Rydell. And now Matthew Neal has got to get past that BMW. Let's hope he doesn't get in the way, because now this is the opportunity for Rickard Rydell to get the loud pedal down and go for it. And Matthew Neal's up into second position. Behind him, the Vauxhall Vectra of Derek Warwick, who is actually John Cleland, who is in fifth position, and he is 2 laps down on the car in front of him, but he's hanging on because he's trying to improve his position. That's the car that's been in and had the whole of the left side suspension system and driveline replaced, and he's pushing Matthew Neal very hard indeed. But meantime, Rickard Rydell, I cannot speak too highly of how well this quiet Swede has driven, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if we don't get a fastest lap from him.
Yes, he got a tremendous break there, Murray, and I absolutely agree with you. We've seen a lot of foreign drivers come to Bathurst over the last number of decades, and I have to say I'm extremely impressed with this young fellow. He has to be the pride of the Volvo team, and someone that they certainly can be very proud of.
10 laps remaining in this year's great race at Mount Panorama. This is the BMW of Cameron McLean, car number 12, but the excitement really is at the front, where Rickard Rydell in car number 40, the Volvo S40, continues to lead the race, but the gap is almost zero because Matt Neal in the Nissan Primera car 34 is getting right onto his tail.
And there it is. That is Matt Neal. Now, Richard Hay, you were making a wonderfully ironic point. I was talking about Steve Richards being in line for the Nissan Primera Works Drive next year, and you said...
I'll tell you what, someone else who wouldn't mind, it'd be Matt Neal.
And Matt Neal is in that car now, and you're absolutely right. Incredible.
Pushing him now, Murray. He is pushing him. He's in the slipstream. Not quite. If he gets a little bit close, plenty of cars there to get in the slipstream, that's for sure.
If somebody gets the traffic wrong, this could change the lead. But Rydell is past those two slower cars. So is Matthew Neal. They deferred to them. Rydell passes another one. There's our helicopter shadow giving us wonderful pictures. And look at the way Rydell is going through the field. And Matthew Neal goes through on the inside as they turn into the left-hander here at the Caltex chase. Wow, this is great stuff. And we've only got 11 laps to go.
Neal can smell this Volvo. He can see that back bumper bar. This has really got him going now. Easy on the brakes. This has been his Achilles heel, going nicely through there this time.
Good one.
He's holding him. So up there through the gears to Hell Corner, right-hander up Mountain Straight. They both have to come through here nicely.
And this is the sort of dogfight that could play right into the hands of Brad Jones, too, in third place.
Absolutely, absolutely, Gary. If anything goes wrong with these two, Brad Jones could finish second or even win the great race of 1998 at Bathurst. If you'd scripted this race, Gary, that it would have been rejected as too fanciful for words. But the race wasn't scripted, it is very much for real. Across the line they go again. What's the gap this time? It's increasing 2.1 seconds, so it's gone up from 1.1 seconds to 1.6 seconds to 2.1 seconds, and Rickard Rydell has just done the fastest lap of the race. The first in under 2 minutes 18 seconds, 2 minutes 17.9. Just 1.1 seconds slower than Jason Plato's all-time 2-litre lap record last year.
And here is third place man, Brad Jones.
Now 15 seconds behind this titanic battle for the lead. So Brad, as he forecast, is suffering from the extra weight of the Audi. They had a trick strategy which doesn't seem to have benefited them as much as they would have hoped. Wow! Matthew Neal now virtually on the rear bumper of the Volvo as they cross the line to complete 158 laps. So there's 3 laps to go, including this one. Has there ever been a closer Bathurst 1000 than this?
No, there isn't. The gap the computer's showing 000, which says there's no gap between them. We can see there is one existing, but boy,
it's traffic. Remember what Stephen said. There's the traffic, and that looks to me like the Troy Searle BMW number 30 that's ahead of them, which isn't ahead now of Rickard Rydell or Matthew Neal.
Right again over onto the right-hand side of the circuit. He comes through on the inside, lets it blow out to the outside. Doesn't want to move. Boy, he didn't miss the wall much by then.
This is a sprint race finish after 1,000 kilometres. But I've said before, I'll say it again, catching is one thing, getting past is quite another.
Yes, he hasn't had to resort to defensive driving yet. Riddell is very wisely working on the principle that every lap that he can go at full pace will keep the Nissan at bay.
Whoa!
Well, yeah.
Mighty close that was.
It's getting ragged here at the top, but both these fellas know that they've got their whole 1,000 kilometers at stake here. They really do want to bring both of these cars home. I don't think you can say that anybody loses this car. It's just that one of them's going to come second. Can't blame the other
Yeah, he's being held up, definitely. Now, this is Matthew Neal's opportunity, but Rydell gets through, and now Neal has got exactly the same problem. It's the Mazda that's temporarily held them up. He sees them come big in his mirrors.
Oh,
that could be it.
This is bad.
This is bad news for Matthew Neal. He's being held. Look at this. He's swarming about all over, and he's passed. Blue flags waving. But Rickard Rydell will have exploited that opportunity to the full, and that could well have decided the result of the Bathurst 1000. It was the Honda Integra that's got back on the track, Wayne Johnson and Maurice O'Reilly's car.
Bad luck there, Murray. That truly, that Integra driver, he should have been looking in the rearview mirror. It would have been sporting for him to let the lead cars through. I think he'll get a little kick in the pants.
Yeah, but sadly that won't help Matthew Neal.
It won't help at all. Let's take a look at how Faye saw that down in the pits. She just can't believe it.
Oh, here's the rear tire coming off.
And,
broken rear suspension on the Faber-Castell car. This is the Bob Holden entry, last lap.
And he's drawing out. This is the last lap. Brad Jones looks as though he's going to finish third. Cameron McLean fourth in the BMW. John Cleland is fifth at the present moment. Peter Hills is sixth. Can a last-minute dash by Matthew Neal close the gap? I don't think so, because the race has been ruined for Matthew Neal by the Wayne Johnson, Maurice O'Reilly Honda Integra getting in the way.
Yeah, 3 seconds the gap there, and it's over 2 seconds that Honda cost him just through that small section of the circuit.
Rotten luck.
Everybody's entitled to the track, I know that, but I think really it would have behooved that Honda driver just to be thinking that he was getting very close to the end of the race and that the leaders were coming up on him.
Well, as Rickard Rydell comes into the closing stages of the last 161st lap of the 1998 Bathurst 1000, let's reflect what a wonderful season it's been for this quiet Swedish driver. He won the British Touring Car Championship absolutely brilliantly after 4 years with the Volvo team, and for him to win at Bathurst would be very much the icing on the cake. No race wants to be won more by any driver in the touring car category than the Bathurst 1000. And down into Conrod Straight for the 161st and very last time, looking as safe as houses unless something catastrophic happens to his motor car, comes Rickard Rydell into the Caltex chase right and left for the last time.
What a dominant performance, pole position, fastest lap, and now coming out of the chase for the final time in the lead.
Yes, and Matthew Neal has closed up, but it's too late, and that was Cameron McLean's BMW. Has it blown up on the last lap in fourth position? Well, here is the winner. Rickard Rydell and Volvo win the Bathurst 1000 from Matt Neal, and Jim Richards has made it 6th. And Stephen Richards finishes 2nd with Matt Neal. All of them can be very, very proud indeed.
The gap just 1.99 seconds, under 2 seconds, and but for the traffic. But that's the kind of race that
Brad
it is.
Jones
Over the line in
third.
3rd. Brad Jones.
A very valiant 3rd. They pressed on all day. I think they can be proud of their endeavors, disappointed as they may be, but 3rd on the podium. This will be okay.
We had so many incidents in the race, but a fitting result for Volvo 1st, Nissan 2nd, Audi 3rd, but the great prize goes to Jim Richards and Rickard Rydell in the 1998 AMP Bathurst 1000.
Quite a year for